Hey y'all, and welcome to my kitchen. In today's video, I kind of wanted to chat with you about, my journey learning to cook and how I learned to cook and the mistakes that I've made along the way, and hopefully give you some encouragement if you are struggling with cooking or if you're just learning how to cook, or even if you're in a busy season of life where you don't have a lot of time to cook. Hopefully this video will be encouraging to you. If you are interested in the recipes for what I'm cooking in this video, both of the recipes will be down in the description box down below if you want to screenshot those and save them for your future meal ideas. So if I'm completely honest with you, I actually am not the biggest cook, I guess. I don't love to cook. I do love to bake. I have always enjoyed baking, and I have enjoyed baking bread and cookies and brownies and sweets, especially sweets, more than bread. But I've always loved to bake. I've never been terribly big on cooking actual meals and food. I started learning to cook when I was living at home, and I was doing home economics class for homeschool. And so my mom would have me cook one meal a week. And I feel like I probably drove her crazy because I was really bad at timing. So if you're cooking 3 different things, so say you're cooking a meat and you're cooking rice and you're cooking potatoes, I would start the potatoes first, even though the potatoes didn't take as long as the meat, and then I'd have the rice going and I completely forget about the rice and it'd be boiling over, and then I would be forgetting that the meat was in the oven and that I needed to check the meat. I was just really, really bad on timing things and paying attention. And to be 100% honest with you, even still to this day, I am not a scientist in the kitchen. A lot of people are you got to weigh the grams of things and you've got to have exact measurements and you've got to this and that. And I am just not that way. My husband is very much that way. My husband actually enjoys cooking a lot more than I do. So there's a big difference in us in that way. But he's very much a scientist in the kitchen. He's very much about precise measurements, and I'm just not. That's just not who I am. I am rather laid back in the kitchen, and I'm just hey, it's good enough. I'm not worried about it. But I would say that for most of us that stay home, most of us that are stay-at-home moms, stay-at-home homemakers, cooking is, you may or may not like it, but cooking is pretty much a necessity for most of us. I would say most of us probably don't have a ton of disposable income to be eating out. And then plus, if you're home, it really makes sense to cook at home most of the time. And then of course, with the rising prices and everything, it's so much cheaper to just eat at home. And so cooking is more or less a necessity for most of us. And so I know that in our own marriage, we have had times where we've had very lean times. I'll say that. We've had times where eating out was definitely not an option, and I had to really, really stretch a very, very tiny grocery budget. And that required, some being creative, and it required a lot of cooking at home. And so I think it is so important for every person to learn how to cook, especially, if you are planning on getting married and having a family, and if you're planning on staying home, or even if you're not staying home. But you know what I mean? I think it's a very important, crucial skill that everybody should learn, but that women that, are going to be wives and going to have a home of their own, they really need to learn how to cook. And learning how to cook is really not that hard. Sometimes I think it may seem kind of daunting. And if you watch certain cooking shows, or you're flipping through a fancy cookbook, it might seem hard. But really it depends on what you cook. And there are tons and tons of simple recipes out there that you can make that are very, very simple. And just simply following a recipe, you can anybody can learn to cook. I know there's a joke with some people that they can barely boil water. I don't really believe that. Anybody can learn to cook. Anybody can follow a simple recipe and learn to cook. And unless you're like a real chef, like an actual chef in a restaurant, you're going to make mistakes and you're going to leave things out of recipes and you're going to burn something. I have burned many a recipe. I made a loaf of pumpkin bread one time and completely forgot to put sugar in it. And I wondered why. It looked so funny. And I gave it to my mom because it was supposed to be for somebody that was paying for it. And I was like, I can't give it to them looking like this. So I gave it to my mom and she tried it and she's like, you forgot the sugar. And then there was another time when we first got married where I was really bad at using the crock pot, actually. As crazy as that sounds, with as simple as the crock pot is, I would leave for work and I would put it on high for what reason, I do not know. But I would put it on high and I would come home and it would be burnt. And one time I burnt a chili absolutely beyond recognition and I tried to salvage it and I just kind of stirred it up and like what was under the top burnt layer didn't look too bad. So like I took the top burnt layer off and I stirred it up and my dear beloved husband, he ate it anyway with a smile, but it tasted burnt. It tasted like burnt crock pot. So everybody is going to have mishaps. I really don't think it matters how good you are in the kitchen or how long you've been a cook. Unless you're a professional chef, you're going to make mistakes. Depending on what season of life you're in as a homemaker, you may not be able to be very elaborate with your cooking. I know I myself am in a season of life where most of the time when I'm trying to cook supper, my children are needing me or my baby is fussing because it's getting close to her bedtime and she's tired. So cooking can be a bit of a stressful experience for me sometimes, and I don't really have the time to be very, very elaborate. And I think as homemakers, it's okay if you're not putting out a 5-course spread every night at mealtime. We don't have to think of cooking as being some kind of elaborate affair every time. I think it's fun to do that every once in a while, but we don't have to do that every time. I think that, finding some simple meals that you can put into your week as a rotation is a very easy way to kind of figure out how to make your meal planning go smoother and your grocery shopping go smoother. For a couple of weeks, we did burrito bowls every night. And so like every night we would do a different one. We did beef burrito bowl, a ground pork burrito bowl, a chicken burrito bowl. And we did that like 3 different bowls. And then each next day we would have leftovers. And that was really simple and easy. And like in this season of life, simple and easy is what we need. And another thing is soups are really easy and they can be very wholesome and healthy. Crock pot meals can be very wholesome and filling and they're very easy. So I would encourage you to look for simple, easy recipes that are going to fill you up, that are going to taste good, and that you can potentially have leftovers for if you're in a very busy season of life. And if you're not very comfortable with cooking or if you're just starting to learn to cook, I would encourage you to get on Pinterest. Look up some quick and easy Pinterest recipes. Cooking doesn't have to be overcomplicated. It doesn't have to be elaborate every time. As long as you are learning and developing your skill as a cook and feeding your family, that's really all that matters. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you like the video, comment down below your favorite go-to meal, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.